Today on the breakdown, everybody's going surfing to the Poker Masters at Poker Go Studios. That's right. We are at the end of day one, and Nick Schulman, that's right, he's famous. You've heard of him. He's really good. He's won a bunch of bracelets, talks a lot. You know that guy. He is going to play a fascinating, interesting, questionable hand with just not that many players left, like 7 or so, give or take. Who really knows? Against James Collopy, a very accomplished player who's made a lot of money. His hand is super impressive, more than yours, more than mine, more than Grant's. So, I mean, buckle up, people. You know, I'm going to have to turn this car around if you guys don't shut up and sit straight. You know what I'm saying? Like, look forward, no more talking, stay on your side of the back seat. You know, you feel this, right? Because it's a poker hand we're going to break down right now. We're going to talk about it. He's Grant. I'm Jonathan. We're just going to go with the music. Let's go.
Yeah, very impressive.
Thank you. It's new. It was a new way to do it.
It was not that new, but it was something. You didn't even mention how low Nick Schulman's shirt goes. The neckline is, it's promiscuous. I'll just say it. It's a promiscuous neckline.
You sure you don't mean like lascivious?
I mean, you know what I mean when I say promiscuous. I don't mean that the neckline itself is having sex with other necklines. That's not what I mean.
What you're saying? Nick Schulman is having sex with other necklines? Then, like, I think you mean lascivious, buddy.
Fine,
racy.
lascivious.
Maybe racy.
Lascivious. Sorry. We didn't all read, you know, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius before bed last night. Sorry. Okay?
It's more like Tropic of Cancer, but sure.
Okay.
Henry
fine.
Miller, ever hear about it?
Nah.
It's about people getting it on, Grant.
Okay, cool. Sweet. I'll have to put that on my list on an Audible because I don't want to read it.
No. It's much better to listen to it. It has all the associated sound effects.
Is this good content?
I don't know.
Probably. Nick Schulman makes good content on Poker Go a lot. He's a good commentator. We respect him as a commentator. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's, you know, I know your issues with him, which I agree with. He often defers a little bit too much to the good players. He's like, well, if Jason Kuhn's doing it, I guess that means it's okay. Far be it from me to analyze the hand. I get it.
Exactly. Like, come on, Nick.
Yeah.
That's what you're there for. You're better than us. We want to hear what you think. It's okay if you disagree, and it's okay if they're better than you sometimes. Like, say it anyway. Please say the thing.
So we're going to spit in the face of Nick Schulman by doing the exact thing that he doesn't do.
That's right.
We're going to take his hand that he's better at playing than us, and we're going to analyze it, and we're going to give opinions, and we're not going to defer to him.
No deferment.
Say the truth in our minds.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that's why we're not on Poker Go, perhaps.
That's why buckle up. When I was saying buckle up, I was talking to Nick Schulman because, woo, it might get a little bit smoky in here. You know what I'm saying, Nick? With the
You're doing a lot of like aggressive finger pointing. It's kind of, it feels like violence is not far behind. You know, it's like when people are at like whatever your local Kroger chain is called, and they're in line, and there's some sort of dispute about who is to the line first, and then the finger pointing starts. That's when you call the police immediately. Immediately, you call the police.
Oh, yeah, it's the finger pointing right there.
Yeah, didn't you feel it when I did it? Were you like, oh, shit, that guy's going to do violence?
Nobody likes to have a finger pointed at them. It's very notable. No. Also, I think a lot of people don't know when you say the Kroger, like related.
I said Kroger specifically. Okay, maybe if you're outside of America, maybe not. But
just say supermarket.
But I said Kroger specifically because I think there's a Kroger chain in every part of America.
Oh. But they all have different names.
Yeah.
So how is someone going to know that?
You got your Fred Meyers. You got your King Soopers. You got your Jewel Oscos. I don't know what else. There's other ones.
You're not impressing people.
There's other ones.
You know the names of cheap grocery stores all across the country.
Why not?
No one cares.
What makes you think, and how dare you call them cheap? They're mid-level.
Are they? Okay. I mean, barely. They're barely mid-level.
What's a mid-level grocery store if not those?
Trader Joe's?
Give me a fucking break. That's not even a grocery store. They barely have refrigerators. That's like a storage unit that somebody throws a bunch of dehydrated meat in and says, come pay me for it. It's fucking bullshit, Trader Joe's. I'm anti-Trader Joe's.
So good. The biggest thing I miss about America is Trader Joe's.
I would much rather
the mainland, I should say.
to a Kroger grocery store than a Trader Joe's.
That's a
any
fucking
day of the
lie.
Week. Any day of
a
the fucking week.
lie.
Twice on Sunday.
You know what? I'm just going to defer there, okay? I'm just going to defer to Grant and what he has to say.
You should, because I'm a better grocery shopper than you, and you know it.
That is crazy. That is insane. Now you've
you
lost
sure?
it. You don't even look at that. You just... I'm the guy who's like... I'm comparing,
but only
I'm
for
thinking.
Prices.
Not just
only
for prices. Other things,
what
too.
For?
Ingredients, calories... That's it. Those are the things.
It's
ingredients
mostly for
and
prices.
calories.
The other things sometimes only when you're on a diet, which is like 38% of the time.
It's like 48% of the time. Well, I don't know.
38% is more accurate.
Anyway,
you know it.
Who cares? Once again, why are we talking about grocery stores? It's a poker podcast.
It's an avenue that was open, and I felt like I had to drive down the avenue.
Yeah. That's what you do. Big driver.
Kroger. What's
Kroger?
The Kroger
Everyone knows.
area?
Everyone knows what I
Tweet
mean
at
when
us.
I say
Tweet
Kroger.
at us. What's your Kroger?
Sadly, this is not sponsored by any grocery store because that was
No.
been a good opportunity to make a little, little cashish. But
It's
instead,
definitely not
throw it
sponsored by
away.
Trader Joe's. They're too cheap for that type of shit. They don't even have refrigerators.
They do
Anyway,
have refrigerators and freezers.
barely. Phineas Dickman
Yes.
suggested this hand and has an excellent Discord name. And you can suggest on Discord. There will
Yeah.
be a link to join our Discord in the show notes. You can suggest on Twitter. We are at 2PokerGuys on Twitter. I know it's supposed to be called X. I just am not doing it because
It's hard to do. I do it less and less.
It hurts me to do it. It's not like I have any sort of fundamental opposition to the name change. I think it's stupid, but I don't care. It's just like it just doesn't feel right to call it X. I don't know why.
Yeah. I think this is one of the Fidelity just came out and did a valuation on X or Twitter or whatever
I saw
we're calling
this.
it.
Yeah.
And it's down to I think 9.8 billion when it was bought 2 years ago.
Yeah.
For
It's
44
like 22%.
billion. Yeah,
It's like 22%, right?
It has been set on absolute fire. And
Yeah.
say what you will about it as a platform, blah, 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 whatever. Holy shit. That's how you make $35 billion disappear. Like that. That's outrageous.
Yeah, let's see if somebody can make some money disappear in this hand, shall we?
Ooh,
Now,
someone's
that's a
going to.
transition. That's a transition.
No more pointing, buddy. I didn't like
It's
that.
also a callback. I did
Yeah.
two things at once.
Yep.
All right. Nick Schulman, the great orator of our time, has 725K in front of him, which is 29 big blinds at the 25K big blind level. And you said we're seven-handed? Is that what you said? I didn't get the stats of where we are in the tournament.
I don't know. I think I did say
Okay.
we're seven-handed, but that's just because I say things. It doesn't mean anything. I
The
could
things
look.
that we know is that it says it's day one, which means we're probably not near the serious money, but also everybody's relatively short, so we're probably kind of near the serious money. I don't know.
No,
Who
we're
cares?
definitely near it. They're going to make the final table, and play the next day, but we're near the end of the day. That's the thing
Okay.
we know.
It's a 15K buy-in Poker Masters. It's going to be tough players.
By the way,
including the two
we are seven-handed.
Okay,
I did the
seven-handed.
thing. Yeah.
And do you know how many people get paid?
I do know that, and I'm going to tell you as I just take a little bit of time to stall, so I can tell you 12 people get paid. I don't know
Okay.
if this is probably not the final 7. This is probably the final 2 tables, right? So we're probably getting close to the money, but not actually at the money. It could be the final 3 tables too. What do I know? We don't know. We don't know. There's no way of knowing this at this time. We haven't done the work. Okay.
We haven't done any of the work.
We didn't do the work. We could have done the work. We didn't do the work. It's fine.
Yeah, this time we didn't do the work. We had a meeting. Okay.
Doesn't matter. It's an interesting hand anyway. Just take it for what it is.
Just
Take it
stop-
in.
yeah.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Stop
Trust me.
complaining. Stop complaining.
Phineas Dickman
All right.
serves you. That would be a good poster, by the way.
I have seen that actually around
Yeah.
Portland. Is that not in Puerto Rico? They don't have the Phineas Dickman serves you posters
No.
in Puerto Rico?
No, it's not in
Well,
English.
Maybe soon. Anyway, Schulman with 29 bigs opens to 50K, which is a min open, with 2 aces from the low jack.
Okay.
Excellent start.
Sure.
James Collopy, tell me a little bit about this guy. You said he's impressive.
Yeah, he has an impressive Hendon, and we're not going to play the game because you don't know who he is, so it's not really
No, I have
fair.
no idea.
He has just under $10 million in Hendon earnings, right? $9.7
Okay, that's
million.
serious.
Here's the other thing that's impressive about him. His biggest win ever is under $1 million. It's 907. It's about 1/10 of his thing. So it means that $10 million wasn't won because he won a $5 million thing once and has built
Yeah.
it up. He's had to build it up brick by brick here, and I don't know. That to me is more impressive than the Jamie Golds of the world, who won $12 million once, and so he's an impressive Hendon. Like
wow, you found somebody to compare him to that was favorable. Good job, Jamie Gold. pretty easy to do, but yeah, I agree. It means he plays a lot and he plays well, most likely.
Yeah.
He's in the small blind. He's got 600K, which is 24 bigs.
Yeah.
And King Queen of Spades, and he flats. What do you think about this? This is such an interesting stack size, especially considering that what we're looking at from a field perspective is we've got stacks between like 14 and 40 bigs. So it's not like he's short for the field, but everybody's kind of short.
What do I think? Oh, it's an interesting spot, right? We can flat. It's actually very cheap to flat. We're getting a reasonable price to do it from the small blind. It can't be that bad. It's a hand that doesn't mind playing multi-way if the big blind wants to come along as well. So that's all good. On the other hand, a 3-bet is going to be, going to work a fair amount of the time against Schulman's open here, right? He's opening, a normal percentage. The fact he's at the top of his range is meaningless right now because we don't know that. I think it's pretty close between 3-bet and call. Also, we're going to be playing out of position to Nick Schulman the rest of the hand if he doesn't fold right away, which kind of sucks. The other thing that sucks about this if we get called is because we're so short, relatively speaking. Like, we're basically saying this is a very important hand by raising, right? If we just call, it's not an important hand. Like, we can just fold the flop. We don't have to play a big pot. It's hard not to play a big pot if we 3-bet right now, right? Like, we're almost always going to c-bet at least. We'll put in 40% of our stack before we know it, minimum, right? So that's a little tricky. I could go either way here. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I agree. I think the basic fundamental reason why it is less enticing to 3-bet is because of the situation it puts you in. You don't want a 3-bet jam for 24 bigs in a structure that's reasonable with a hand like this where you're game 3 disastering yourself pretty badly. And if you 3-bet to like 7 bigs, which out of position is not unreasonable, maybe since stacks are smaller, you could do 6.
Yeah, you could.
And you get effectively jammed on. You just have to fold a hand that plays really well post flop, and so that sucks a lot. I wonder if the decision can be made simply by what the small blind is relative to the big blind in spots like this. Like, they chose to do 15K, 25K at Poker Masters, but if it were 10K, 25K, do you think the decision weighs a little bit differently because it's more to call effectively?
I mean, I don't think it should. It's just it's 1/5 of a blind difference. I think that should basically not matter, right? I understand it's different, but like, we are really at the edges of the margin when we're talking about that, right?
Yeah. Well, at the Poker Masters, that's kind of where you have to be, I think.
Maybe.
Playing against these players. I agree with Collopy's decision from a comfort perspective.
Yes.
I just feel warm and cozy to call here with this beautiful hand and see a flop and not worry about actually having to fold pre-flop with King Queen of Spades, like one of the most beautiful hands in the world. Yeah.
But do we not make more over the long haul by 3-betting? I think we might. I think we might just do better if we 3-bet
I don't know.
this.
I mean, if Schulman's got a lot of triple barrels in him, we could make a lot, like a few times, which changes the expected value equation quite a bit.
True. But now we're, either way it sucks because we're out of position too, right? Like, this is a much more comfortable call on the button, I think, if we want to do that, because we get to play in position. We get so much more opportunity to use that position, right? Like, out of position, by 3-betting, we sort of mitigate that advantage that Nick Schulman has to some degree because stacks are so much effectively smaller, right, relative to the size of the pot. So there's that too. I don't know.
This is what
it's fine to call.
Tournaments do to you. This is what tournaments do to you, man. You take a hand like King Queen suited, and you're like, all options are bad with King Queen suited. How is that possible?
Look,
how can it be right?
It's not that all options are bad. Calling is perfectly fine. 3-betting is perfectly fine. Folding is bad, right?
You can't fold.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's okay to call and it's okay to 3-bet. And I think I can make a very reasonable case on either one. As you said, the comfortable choice is to call. I can't fault him for calling.
No, that's what he does. The big blind folds, and we end up heads up with aces for Schulman and King Queen of Spades for Collopy. 150K in the pot. Queen Jack 9 all clubs. So Schulman has the nut flush draw. Collopy with top pair and a straight draw. A little bit of something for everybody.
I love it when you talk like that. It's like I'm in Oliver Twist.
I was doing James Collopy, who's obviously British based on his name, right?
He's American.
Okay, yeah. But based on his name being James Collopy, of course he's British.
What's interesting is there are 12 people cashed in this event, and all of them live in America. Hello. That's weird.
Is that racist? Maybe. All right, so Queen Jack 9 all clubs.
Yeah.
It's a great flop for Schulman in this exact spot against top pair with no club. I guess we'd want him to have a club. We'd prefer that Collopy actually has a club, unless the 10 of clubs came. That would be bad.
Whatever. We'll take it.
Collopy checks. I think that's a pretty standard, easy decision. I guess you could make an argument for leading, but I don't really know why you would.
No.
As
Don't
Schulman, are we ever checking back?
I think when we're this short, with aces specifically, I don't think we are. I think the concern is that we may just miss out on value. There's so many cards that can come that kill any chance of getting value from this guy, right?
Yeah.
So I think we should with the ace of clubs, we don't really have a lot to be afraid of, right? Like the worst case scenario is we bet and we get raised and we're just not folding, right? We're like, I hope it works out. I don't know, but I ain't folding. Like we can live with it.
Queen 10 or King 10 of clubs.
Yeah, or whatever, or any 5, 6 of clubs, or whatever he ends up happening.
Well, King 10 of clubs are drawing dead against.
I understand.
Why?
Oh yeah, fair. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Like if he has King 10, I mean, fine, right? But like, I think we're just holding on a lot. And living with it, we're short enough that that's fine. I think we should be trying to build a pot right now before all the scary straight and flush cards come. There's so many bad cards. We often have the best hand. We don't always have the best hand, but we've got the ultimate backup in the ace of clubs. Just seems like a no-brainer bet to me. What do you think?
I mean, I get that from a pragmatic perspective. I know like 6 or 7 years ago when we were talking about these high-level hands, all of the good players were checking back all monochromatic boards. Now, that may have changed in these like metagame implications that are happening in the Poker Masters and stuff. Who knows?
Also, it's 6 or 7 years later. They just change anyway.
Yeah.
I think a small bet, I don't know what Nick does, to be clear. We have it written down. I haven't looked. But I think a small bet is called for here. You know, just like get value from all one pair hands, all one club hands, straightening hands, if the hands with the 10 in them. Let's just get some value and continue. What does he do?
He does a small bet. He bets 1/5 of pot, 30K.
Oh, wow. That's smaller than I was thinking.
Yeah, it's
that
pretty
is very
small.
small. Okay, I'm
wondering if a larger bet than this even incentivizes raising a little bit more from some hands, because it's just so easy to call for 30K with a lot of the hands that Collopy can have here.
Right, but it's okay for Collopy to call with all his weaker hands, right? The hands we're definitely beating. We don't want those hands to fold so much because we've got most of them in real jail. Not all of them.
Yeah.
Like Jack 10 is open-ended and has a pair, but still, it's in pretty bad shape against our hand, right? And we're going to be able to see if Jack 10 improves pretty clearly, right? Like if the Jack pairs, if the straight comes, if the 10 comes, we're going to be like, whoa, those are all really bad cards for us. We know that, you know. So there's that. I think he bets 30K as much to keep a hand like I mean, is 2 6s even calling? I guess 2 6s could call. No. I'm saying pre-flop.
Oh,
2 6s with the 6 of clubs might will call 30K once. If he's got to have a club in his hand. He's going to call once for 30K. Of course he is.
I don't think he is.
You're crazy. Come on.
Why?
How much is in the pot?
You're just hoping to hit a club and everybody shuts down on turn and river?
Or you're hoping you have the best hand and it just goes check, which Nick Schulman isn't always going to triple barrel. I mean, he's going to give up sometimes.
I think 6s with a club is a fold. That's my opinion.
You think, really? I think any club in your hand, you're probably calling once for 30K, specifically 30K. It's just so fucking cheap. I can't imagine.
I mean,
folding.
I think the 8 of clubs, which is basically only comes with 8-8, or another club with it, and better, I agree with that. But I think once we're past that, it's all pairs because Collopy never has unsuited hit cards under there.
For sure.
And I think they're all just easy folds.
Yeah, I guess I disagree for 1.2 blinds. Like, how many blinds are in the pot right now after the bet
I just don't
from
see
Schulman?
what good really comes of it. I think it's like the expected value is negative on that call even for the price that you're getting based on all the scenarios that come out. Like, are you calling a turn bet if a club comes? If he bets big?
No, you're hoping it goes check for sure. But it's gonna go check a lot. Like if a club comes, right? He often doesn't have a club. He's got a set. He's got top pair. He's got things. He's just checking it back a lot, right? He doesn't feel the need. If we check the river, he may not feel any need to turn his hand to a bluff, and we just get to win.
I don't think we need 6s with a 6 of clubs for MDF. Just as part of my argument.
Yeah, I don't know if we do or not. Quite frankly, it feels like letting someone get away with that price of a bet just feels problematic to me, where
I mean, he's going to have something that connects with the board in some way most of the time when he bets this board, because Collopy did flat the small blind. He connects with this board pretty frequently. Collopy has a lot of two pairs, a lot of straight draws with a pair, like a lot of clubs too. So, I mean,
some clubs.
Yeah, I mean, he's
not too many.
I don't think Schulman's just going to fire away with ace-4 of diamonds.
Yeah, I don't know that Collopy really has many clubs at all, honestly. Besides like king-10 of clubs and maybe ace-10 of clubs, like
7-8 of clubs.
Maybe. I don't even know if he's calling with that from the 24 blinds. I don't know if he's calling with that from the small blind. I'm not sure.
I think those are close.
Yeah, he might just fold.
Yeah. I mean, he just has so many hands like queen 10, jack 10, 9, 10 suited.
Agreed.
They're so much easier to continue with than sixes with a 6 of clubs.
The problem is, like, we can never make a flush with those hands, and we can make a flush with the 6, which is sometimes going to be good. Again, it's just because I'm just sensitive to the price here. That's the reason why I think we're calling with those kinds of hands, right? If you're me, anyway. And
if you're me, you're not.
Right. If for 1.2 blinds, you got me. I got a flush draw and a pair. I'm not folding on the flop for sure. I'm definitely hanging around. Like, it's true. I can't see myself doing it. I'm getting like 5.5 to 1 or 6 to 1 or whatever I'm getting. I'm not going anywhere.
I mean, if Schulman, so it's just to hit the club and hope that he has like top and shuts down.
Not at all. It's not just hit the club. We also can have the best hand right now, right? We have the best hand right now sometimes.
Okay, but if we have the best hand right now, what does Schulman have?
I mean, he could have all sorts of things, right? He could have.
Please name them.
Okay, tough guy. He could have ace-5 suited. He could have.
And he's going to bet this flop?
For $30K, he gives himself a lot of bets, right? He bets so small. One of the reasons why you bet small is because that means you're going to bet this very frequently, right? So you can have a lot of bluffs too. Because let me tell you, if the guy's going to fold a hand like 6s or 7s with the club in it, that's a pretty great bet with your whole range, right? For $30K.
I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense in a weak field. But when you're playing in a field like this, I really just don't think Schulman is, even for this price, going to c-bet ace-5 of diamonds. I just don't see it happening.
I mean, I don't know why you think that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't know why you believe that so strongly. Like, I don't have a strong reason in either direction. I could see, especially in a tournament where stacks are short, just putting more pressure, especially at that price you're giving yourself even just to win the pot. So cheap. Like, why not just take a shot at it? I could see it. I don't think he needs to have equity to bet the flop for 1.2 blinds.
I kind of think he does on this board in this pre-flop setup, where we were just talking about Collopy's pre-flop range. The only single clubs he has are pairs, right?
Right.
So we're just like hoping that Collopy has one of those hands and thinks the way that Grant Dennison does, not the way Jonathan Levy does. If we're betting ace-5 of diamonds,
I mean,
and
okay,
like other than that, maybe he has 7-8, maybe he folds 7-8 of not clubs, maybe he has 6-7, maybe he folds 6-7 of not clubs. We got 6 combos there. Pretty much everything else connects with this board.
Okay, but there's other things too, right? That the 30K bet gets you, and the main one is optionality, right? So it enables you to, when a scary card comes, to represent, if we have ace-5 of diamonds, the nut flush or the straight or whatever else we want to rep, right? And it's a very cheap price to win a little bit now and win a bigger pot later some of the time. I would prefer to do it with some equity, don't get me wrong. I feel like we have essentially zero equity with ace-5 of diamonds here. But I don't know. And these setups where everyone is so short, like, people just fold a lot, man. They just fold a lot. So I don't know. I think I like the optionality piece, and there's a lot of scary cards that can come.
So what hands are you checking back?
I think we're betting most of our hands on this flop because we're betting so small.
So literally all hands, I'm guessing.
I don't know if it's literally all. There might be a few, but like if we open like some small suited connectors that have just no hope of anything ever happening, we might let those go. You know, we might check those back here and there.
Aren't those better to bet than ace-5 of diamons?
Ace-5 can at least make
at least you can at least hit an overpair or to the board. You know,
you can.
Hit your
no,
ace.
and you have ace-high, which is cool. But you can go runner straight sometimes. So if like the straightening card comes, you could semi bluff that. It's a fair point. Maybe those hands are better to bet. But the point is, there's a lot of hands I think we can bet here that aren't connecting necessarily.
I would take issue with a lot, but I don't know. We just have fundamentally different views of this entire flop, I guess.
This is all a very small thing that we're disagreeing about, though. It's a 30K bet. It's a 1.2 blind bet and a 1.2 blind call. It probably doesn't matter, honestly,
Right.
what you do. It's all so far out on the margins, right? The expected value is probably minimal in either direction. This is sometimes what happens when poker players get together and talk about stuff. You get super caught up in that rather than some of the bigger stuff. Hello, we probably just did that. That's okay.
Well, yeah, that's what you got to do. That's life.
Yeah.
Whatever. Collopy does the easy thing with king, queen, and calls.
Right. You can't do
Schulman's got
anything
the
else.
aces with the ace of clubs. Collopy's got king, queen of spades on queen, jack, 9, all clubs. The turn is the 10 of spades. There's now 210K in the pot, so Collopy makes the straight.
Yeah.
With the king.
Yeah.
It is notably not a club, so still 3 clubs on the board. I think now there is at least a small argument for Collopy leading. I'm not sure if there's a good one, but you could justify it if you really wanted to.
What is our plan if we get raced? Are we just folding?
We lead? It's a lead.
We lead
fold,
and get raced. We just fold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which
That
is a
has to
problem
be-
if Schulman's going to take all of his ace of clubs and turn it into a bluff. That
Right.
becomes a problem.
Yes.
Because he's got... he might not have more of that than he has flushes, but he has a decent amount of that at least. He's probably got ace 10 off plus, right? Low jack, he might not even open ace 10 off.
He might.
These stack sizes is close.
When people are sure, with it all being tight, people might be playing tighter in general. If they are, he might be opening it. It's possible.
Actually, I'm less worried about it now that I think about it because Schulman is good enough to be playing above the rim. But if he has ace jack or ace queen with the ace of clubs, then he may find that good enough to just call, and we don't get blown off the hand.
True.
So then it is just ace king and ace 10 with the ace of clubs.
Ace king has already got us dead anyway, right? We're already losing.
Oh, right. Ace king, never mind. So it's just ace 10 with the ace of clubs.
You're right.
Which
That's
is
not a big
Which is
deal.
a marginal open anyway.
Yeah.
So
and honestly, he's
and
got pretty good equity. Well, not pretty good. He's got okay equity against us.
Or if he has aces with the ace of clubs, which he has,
right.
he might just call with that as well, just because he's got enough going on that he doesn't feel the need to turn it into a bluff.
He could have ace queen with the ace of clubs, though, right? No, we can't. The queen of clubs is on the board. Hey,
with the ace of clubs, yeah, but I was saying, maybe he's got enough there that he just calls, right?
Right. But he might decide on that board to just not mess around and be like, guess who can have ace king and guess who can have the nut flush? It's me.
Yeah.
And just jam it down the dude's throat and be like, what can you even call with here? You have to have 2 clubs to call, and I know you don't have the nuts, and you might erase some of those on the flop, and there aren't many clubs you would even have. What clubs can you even have here, really? It's so hard for you to have clubs. There's no clubs left.
Yeah. Schulman is too high level of a player to lead into here. I think you can lead into a player who knows how to think but isn't really that good.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can lead into a player like Schulman or even you or me and
I agree.
expect it to work out too well.
I think all of us are just going to make you really be sad about the decision.
Yeah.
As opposed to, by the way, checking here, hoping it goes check like it often will, not always, but often. We can lead the river now, and we can have some hands that we're sort of turning into bluffs here, right? And we can hope to
I
get
think that's an
snapped
interesting
by things.
That's an interesting side discussion. This isn't how it goes down, so we don't know what would happen. But if it goes check on the turn and we get an innocuous river card, I wonder if it's better to bet or to check, because it's a super scary board for Schulman's range if he doesn't have anything that's a straight or better. So he might have some bluffs when we check twice. He might think we have one pair and got scared of the 10 type thing. So I don't know.
I feel
it might be a bluff catching spot.
It might be, but the problem is Schulman's going to check back all his one pair hands, right? Instead of consider calling with some of them, especially the better ones, like the ace queens of the world, right? Ace queen just has to check back, right? On the river, if we check, I think. How does it get value, right? But if we bet, has to consider calling. Has to consider it. So I think we might feel it's at least an interesting idea. It's all pretty thin. It's very thin to bet here and hope to get called. But I think there might be value there.
On the river, you mean? But
on the river, that's right.
Let's go back to reality, which is the turn.
Okay.
Collopy does the normal thing and doesn't lead, and upon analysis, we agree that he should not lead.
Yeah.
Schulman's in a weird spot now because he still does have the nut flush draw and an overpair. The overpair is barely meaningful at this point. It has some meaning, but Collopy makes a lot of straights and 2 pairs with that card, right?
Yeah. Once he calls the flop, now we can beat the hands that if he stuck around with 2 7s and 2 6s with a club, we are beating those and kind of nothing else. There's nothing. It's 2 pair or straights or something like that, right? We're just beat almost always, except for those little pairs.
I think it has to be. Unless it's the little pairs that literally we have to be beat, right?
Yes,
because
I think so.
his hand's going to have a king in it. At worst, it's going to be like 8-9 or 8-10, which flop to straight, I guess, sometimes.
He never has 8-10, I don't think.
Oh, okay, but he could have 8-9 of diamonds, maybe.
Yeah,
but that now is a straight. Maybe.
Yep.
So we're losing to that, obviously. Jack 10, Queen 10, 9-10, obviously, are all beating us now. Although they're not comfortable with the situation, they are beating aces.
So we're losing to everything. I don't think we want to. We're losing to everything, and as Nick Schulman, we have the double nut blockers, right? We have the nut straight blocker and the nut flush blocker here, so that's pretty good. And we absolutely can have ace king.
I mean, the pre-flop action has the nut blocker, right? Collopy never has ace king, even if Schulman has deuces.
Right, but Collopy in theory could have the ace of clubs sometimes, but we know he doesn't, right?
Yeah. I'm just saying that the straight blocker is not really relevant. The aces as a straight blocker.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
But the clubs matter, and obviously that weighs heavily on Schulman's mind when he decides to bet again for 105K. And at this point, he's already clearly, based on our analysis, turning his hand into a bluff.
He's semi-bluffing.
Saying like it. Yeah. He's saying like, okay, if I hit a club, that's great. If I don't, how about you just fold Jack 10 right now? Because what are you gonna do, right? Like.
Yeah, you really hanging on here? Guess who has all the kings, all the clubs, all of this, all of that? It's Nicky Boy, baby. Yeah, I agree. I think he's just saying, and he's also saying, you're going to call now, and then what are you going to do on the river? Do you really want to spend 4 blinds now to have to face a bigger river bet? I mean, that sounds like a terrible idea. Who wants that? Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Like, just get out now, son. He's sunning this guy.
He is. He did it. You're not supposed to do that.
No.
All right. So, as Collopy, how do we make a decision on which hands that we already kind of discussed his range that gets here? Which ones call and which ones fold? I guess he doesn't have any raises from our outsider perspective because you kind of have to have the nuts to raise, right? So I guess maybe he could raise a straight flush if he wants to, but that's a little bit scary.
If somehow he had the 7-8 of clubs, and it's hard for him to have it, I think we could raise that. Like if we had a flush, it's just I don't know if we have any flushes based on the cards that are available here, right?
We have a straight flush.
Okay,
we can have the king 10 of clubs.
Okay, and as Collopy, we think we could have the ace 10 of clubs, right? We don't know that Nick has the ace of clubs, although we might be starting to suspect it when he bets the turn. Like that's sometimes going to be in Nick's hand, but we just don't have many flushes at all. I could see us with. But if we had a flush, I could see us being like, let's just shut out this equity or make him pay for it. If he's got me, he's going to get it all anyway, right? I mean, there's some bad cards on the river which maybe we get away, but if he somehow has ace 10 of clubs himself, like we're just going to lose a lot. Like it's just
are we shutting out the equity of Schulman's actual hand if we raise? I guess we're deep enough that he's supposed to fold. If we effectively move in.
I think he has to fold because, like, we're saying we have at least a king when we shove, right? And probably better.
No, I mean we're saying we have a flush.
Yeah, a flush, right?
For sure.
So now Nick's only drawing to a club. He has to fold for sure, and that's all he has. Yeah, he's definitely going to fold.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But with this hand, we can't really move in because we're getting snapped by all the better hands and folding out all the worst ones. Except maybe sets will call. That's it. We block some of the sets even. It doesn't seem like I don't think we should do anything but call here.
I wonder if Schulman would even bet a set on the turn.
I mean, that's a real question. I don't know.
Because it would suck to get shut out of your equity with a set here. Like you could really win a monster pot against a flush with a set without getting shut out of your equity.
Right. But this is how you build the pot too. And as we said, we just know. I guess when we don't have the ace of clubs in our hand, there's a few more flushes, but there's just almost no flushes besides king 10 and ace 10 of clubs here, right? There's just maybe 7-8 of clubs, maybe.
Yeah, maybe 7-8.
Probably not, though. So, like, there's 2 combos, and as Nick, we actually block one of those. I don't know. We might just bet a set to give us that optionality if the board pairs and tell a weirder story.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know.
Who knows? But, okay, so as Collopy, are we folding all of our 2 pairs on the turn here?
I think we're folding our bad 2 pairs. Are we folding our good 2 pairs? Like, so it's queen jack, right? That's the obvious.
Queen jack and queen 10 suited, I guess we could have.
It's only 4 blinds. I think we're probably supposed to hang in there one time with the good 2 pairs and play what Bart Hansen likes to call Fifth Street chicken, which is where you call intending to fold the river to a bet because it's really hard to triple barrel in these spots, right? It's just hard. And also, Nick Schulman raced to have something. So he can check back some of his hands here. Ace queen with the ace of clubs kind of a thing. And now that he's, didn't improve, But he still has showdown value, kind of a thing, and hope he wins, even though he never wins. How could he ever win if we call, right? But he'd be afraid to bet because we have straights and stuff like that very clearly when we call.
Yeah.
I think we can call with top two because it's relatively cheap. Like, we still have preserved a bunch of our stack here. Yeah.
What about queen 10?
I mean, it's really close. I think I find a call with queen 10 too because I'm worried about how many hands can we call with. We just don't have many calls here, right? We can't fold everything. We don't have that many straights. Really, the only straights we have are when we have a king in our hand. We have to have like king jack suited, king 10 suited, king queen suited. That's like it, right?
Yeah, and we have no sets because we're likely just ripping the 24 blinds pre-flop with 9 plus.
100%. 100%. So I think we just don't have enough straights to only call with straights, and queen jack isn't enough, probably. We probably need to include queen 10 also. It's queen 10 suited. By the way, I'm not even sure we're calling queen 10 suited pre-flop with 24 blinds from the small blind. I'm not even 100% sure we're doing that.
Calling jack 10 and we're probably calling jack 10 and 10-9 suited. Queen 10 is kind of like in the similar category to 7-8 where it's close.
Yeah, so we may not even have that. But if we do, I think we call that one too. But I think that maybe is the line. Like it's top two and then the next best two pair we can have, whatever that is, and get the hell out besides that.
Yeah, because we're not calling queen 9 suited for sure. And we're probably not calling jack 9 suited.
No way.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're just not. We just don't have those hands.
So I guess we do have to call with some two pairs unless we want to just go like fight another day style where we overfold. You know,
I mean, if we think Nicky's never bluffing, then if he's under bluffing, I should say, then we can fold top two. But otherwise, and clearly he's got moves. He's willing to bet this.
I mean, and it makes a lot of sense based on what we've said so far that Schulman should bet any ace of clubs that he has.
Yeah.
You know, because he knows how hard it is for Collopy to have a hand at that point.
Yeah. Have a hand he can do anything strong with. Yeah. Agreed.
So with the straight, Collopy calls. Obviously, it's not a comfortable spot, but you have to call with the king. That's like the second best type of hand you have after the very few clubs that you have is a king because you never have ace king as Collopy.
Right. And you never really have clubs. Yeah.
And I mean, two pair might be a little bit better because at least you have equity against the flushes. That's nice.
I mean, maybe, but you can chop with some straights and you can beat some other straights, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Easier to hold on the river. Much easier to hold on with the straight too.
Well, the pot's 420K now, and Collopy's got 425.
Here we go.
So the river is very interesting. It's the queen of diamonds.
Wow. So sick. So sick.
So Collopy, now the trips, it doesn't improve him at all. It's just an interesting card.
Yeah.
Right? Like he blocks Schulman from having full houses, which is nice. So that's cool. Should Collopy consider turning this hand into a just-in-case bluff?
No, I don't think so.
Because we're not folding out a flush, we think.
We're way too short to successfully fold out the things we want to fold out.
Okay.
Like if Nick has ace king or ace x of clubs, he's just going to sigh and call, I think. Isn't he? I'm not sure.
At least the clubs. At least the clubs
okay.
he's going to call with.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on the straight.
I mean, I think he's calling with the straight also just because, as we said, it's so hard for us to have clubs here. It's just so hard. He may feel like he has to call with the straight also. Certainly straight with either one of those being a club, right? The king of clubs or the ace of clubs, I think he's calling. But I think it's a mistake to turn it into a just-in-case bluff. I'm just not sure we can fold out better.
I think you're right. So he checks.
Okay, good.
Now it's on Schulman, and the whole line here has been effectively, I'm turning my aces into a bluff now on the turn. This is kind of a bad card. If our analysis is correct, Collopy has made some full houses.
Right.
So the nut blocker is no longer as valuable as it once was. Now, we may have ideas about how Collopy would play two-pair type hands. Like if Queen 10 isn't a big part of it because he's not calling with that pre-flop, Queen Jack is his main full house. Mm-hmm. We may have expected to hear from that on the flop when we only bet 30K.
And it was so small. Their stacks are so small that he may just be like, let's go. Like
if you have a flush, you have a flush. I have top two. Like I'm not going to let you draw for free to whatever you've got.
Right. I'm going to make I'm going to charge you. Right. And certainly on the turn, almost all. Well, no, sorry, not on the turn when the strike card comes. I take it back.
But if Schulman is thinking that if Collopy had Queen Jack suited, 3 combos, that he would check raise the flop, then this is not as consequential as it initially seems because we're not entirely sure that Collopy has any other full houses in his range.
Yeah.
We think he probably has Queen 10 suited, which as of now is 2 combos. But I'm not really sure.
It's not. I don't know that he does. He really may not.
Yeah. And he doesn't have any pocket pairs that have turned into full houses.
Nope.
So if that's the case, then based on everything that's happened in the hand so far, Schulman has such a massive range advantage that he almost has to go for it.
Okay, part of what has to go along with this, though, is we have to have been able to bet sets on the turn, which is something we did talk a little bit about, right? But if Schulman's not betting his sets on the turn...
I don't think we do. If we think that Collopy has like almost no full houses, if any, then I think it's fine to just stay with like the nut blocker being relevant. You know?
Like the nut flush is good enough kind of thing. That makes sense, actually. Yeah. Okay, I like that. So maybe we don't have to bet sets on the turn. Would we have bet sets on the turn as Nick? Maybe. Solid maybe.
It's really hard to know. That's such a close one.
Yeah. Probably sometimes. Probably the answer is sometimes,
Yeah. I bet we would have bet like our smaller sets and check back our bigger sets so that we can get action from some sort of 2-pair hands with the smaller sets more easily.
On the
bigger
river.
sets protect their equity from getting check raised, perhaps. That was just my quick hit. Maybe that's wrong. But nonetheless, this is a lot of contingencies, right? Like Collopy has to be unlikely to have Queen 10 suited preflop, and he has to be likely to check raise top 2 on the flop.
Right.
But if those things are both true, then we can kind of make this play that Schulman does make and goes all in with impunity.
There's an extra piece here, too, which is sometimes if Collopy does have Queen Jack suited, didn't check raise flop, just call turn, he's going to lead the river some of the time with that hand.
Yeah, he's going to be worried about his action dying.
So sometimes he's going to bet that himself. So when you're knocking out some part of his, Queen Jack suited range on this street, on almost every street you can knock out a little bit of it. Like he probably would have check raised the flop with a big chunk of it, right? Probably on the turn also. Never on the turn. Never on the turn because it's a straight card. But on the river, he would have led with some of it too. So he doesn't even have all the combos of Queen Jack suited that we might be afraid of, which is good for us for going for it here. Because we know we're losing, right? I guess unless somehow he has Jack 10 suited and held on the turn, we're beating that hand. But that's like it, right?
I think I like this play from Schulman. What do you think?
I like it. I think it as long as this guy is capable of making these kinds of folds, it's great. you know.
Right, what is Collopy supposed to do?
Oh my gosh. So Schulman has just moved us in. We're getting 2-1. We have
my first question is, are our blockers relevant? Because obviously we're bluff catching here. So we block Queen X full houses.
And the
quads.
king blocks ace king, which is meaningful. Because ace king, I think, would move in here. Those things are relevant, but are they relevant enough? I don't know if they're relevant enough because Jack is staring us right in the face, and so is 10-10. And they would have played these. They might have bet the turn, those two hands, right?
Yes,
they might have. Also, ace king right there the whole time. Ace 10 of clubs, ace king of clubs right there the whole time, right? Flushes.
I mean, all of the ace X of clubs. Someone just opened from the low jack. He can have ace deuce of clubs.
Yeah. He can also have king X of clubs, by the way, right? He can have king 8 of clubs here, king 7 of clubs.
Yep.
He absolutely can. We can't, but he can. So that's not good either. And the fact that he went bet, like betting the turn is so strong. It's like such a strong play, right? Like he should have really good hands. And the only thing, what's left that we can beat here when he shoves the river? 2 aces with the ace of clubs, turning their hand into a bluff. Is there anything else?
Like ace queen or ace jack with the ace of clubs.
Ace queen turning its hand into a bluff, though? It's got trip queens. Maybe.
I mean, the trip queens are almost irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Okay, so the ace of clubs could be there in a few spots.
I mean, ace queen is a better bluff hand than aces.
Yeah, it is. And actually, ace jack, ace 10 even with the ace of clubs could be there, right? Maybe even ace 9.
Those are actually better bluff hands too.
Yeah, you're right. They are better.
Although ace 9, I don't think Schulman's opening ace 9 off, but ace 10 off
he might be. He might be. It's hard to say, right? He might be.
I'm going no.
Okay, he really might be though. So,
but no.
So here we are as Collopy. We have blockers, but it's not like thrilling. It's just they're okay blockers, right? They're not amazing.
It's one of those brutal range disadvantage spots here, right? Where like we know against players like Schulman, we're supposed to find hands to call with, but when we are at such a range disadvantage, it's hard to find hands in our range to call with. Obviously, if we make it here with a nut flush, we're just not going to fold to this guy. right?
Any flush I think we have to call, right?
Yeah. So
I think
as Collopy,
because at least we can beat Ace King.
Right. We don't know for sure that Schulman has the ace of clubs in his hand as Collopy. So, like, when we're analyzing our own range, we could say, like, okay, we have some ace-x of clubs.
Right.
That we can easily make this call with.
We have ace 10 of clubs. That's it, right? As Collopy. That's the only hand.
Probably.
The ace of clubs
Maybe he has, like, ace 8 of clubs maybe.
Just calling with 24 blinds from the small blind?
Possible. It's
very
possible.
unlikely. Very unlikely. This is
Remember
a good
what
player.
Jesse Lonis did? Jesse Lonis against Patrick Antonius.
He did
that
it
was
on the
ace 8 off.
He did it on the button, though. He was in the button.
But it was off.
He was on the button, though.
But it was off.
But he was on the button. It's different. And also, I think weren't they deeper than 24 blinds?
No, they were about 25 blinds effective.
Okay, but also it was on the button, and that does matter. But obviously,
it was unsuited.
But do you think Jesse Lonis was calling that from the small blinds?
Patrick Antonius is so much more handsome than Jesse Lonis. Also,
like sorry,
it's not
Jesse.
even fair.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Once again, we defer to Jesse Lonis's attractiveness scale, whatever that is.
I mean, it's not fair to. I mean, it's Patrick Antonius. He's more attractive than everybody. Anyway,
have you seen Chris Evans? Anyway, he was Captain America.
Not for a long time because I don't like those movies anymore.
I know.
Anyway, all right. So we call with our flushes. If we manage to have a full house, obviously we call with that.
Of course.
If we have a straight flush, obviously we're fist pumping, calling. And do we just not call with anything else?
Well, if we think about the range of hands we called with on the turn, it's basically top two, straights, and flushes that we're slow playing, which is, I guess, maybe the nut flush. There's very few flushes we're even slow playing, really, right?
Yeah.
So we have to get rid of some of those hands now. I mean, I don't know, man. Top two is a full house, so that's the best. So actually, the king high straight is the worst hand we have on the turn, on the river.
I mean,
it's the worst hand.
Unless we have 8-9 suited.
I just don't think we do in the small blind for 24 blinds effective. I just don't think so.
Well, then we don't have 7-8 suited, and we don't have 6-7 suited, and we're down to having like no flushes at all.
We have like one combo of flushes, two.
Yeah.
We have the king 10 of clubs and the ace 10 of clubs. Two combos of flushes. We have queen jack suited, three combos of that. But we have to have played it this way, so there's not that many combos of that. And then there's the straights, which is maybe just king queen suited, king jack suited, maybe king 10 and let's say king 10 suited, right?
It's just so sick that this run out and this spot is so advantageous to Schulman to just be able to do this with the ace of clubs in his hand. It's just free. It's just easy. And like you can't do anything about it.
I don't know what we're supposed to do. Like, we're just supposed to close our eyes and call anyway? Just do it? It seems like you can't just do that. Like, Schulman's not an idiot. He's not over bluffing. If he is, not by too much. Not by enough that we can just say, whatever, I call, I have the worst straight. Blah. Ace king beats me. Hope you don't have it. Like, that's not a good idea. It's a tough spot, and I think a fold is fine. I don't know. I don't know what the solver would say about something like this. I think a fold is just fine, and I can't blame him at all for doing it. And maybe 3-betting would have made our lives easier.
Because we just got jammed on and been done with it.
Well, if we just jammed pre-flop, that would have worked out well for us, right? We would have
Because
won.
we'd just be done with the tournament.
We double up.
No, we win.
We win two ways. We make a straight and trips. We beat them all the ways possible.
Of course,
it's incredible. If we just had the guts to just jam that 24 blinds.
Yeah.
But if there was a caller, if someone else had called, we could have jammed, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It was not to be. So how did this thing turn out?
Well, Nick Schulman finished 7th overall. So
he lost.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he won some money. He won $50,000 on a 15K buy-in. James Collopy, while he made that fold incorrectly, he did finish second for $226,800 and some of those sweet, sweet Player of the Year points that
nice
people
job,
get.
British guy. Really nice job. Bring it back to Her Majesty's England. Enjoy.
I mean, he's not from there. That's not where he's from.
His name is James Collopy. He actively colonized many places.
He lives in Washington, D.C. and was born in the United States.
Redcoats.
He was born in the United States.
I don't know. I'm not buying it.
Hey. First time, no rehearsal. I say fuck the second take. 90s baby scratching on vinyls until the record break. Mr. One Night is all I need. No second dates. I'm the rapper most likely to make you tight.